that the outcome of the election, which I am working hard to ensure a victory, will send a clear message to our Republican friends that it's time for them to quit standing in the way of immigration reform. If you remember, after the 2012 election, the Republican National Committee did what they called an autopsy of their loss and concluded that they could not continue to deny the importance of immigration reform, and they urged Republicans running for office to get on board. Now, that hasn't turned out the way that they seem to have hoped. We have instead a Republican nominee who has been virulently anti-immigrant. But there's nothing like winning to change minds. And I think, number one, we have a good chance of having a Democratic Senate if everybody does what I hope they will do and vote for Democratic candidates for the Senate.
You don't want to hear it?
I believe we will pick up
I don't want to hear her
seats
shit.
in the House,
Okay,
and at
next
least,
time.
if not take it
Okay.
back, narrow the numbers. If we move in the Senate and then we demand that there be a vote in the House, because I'm convinced that if the bipartisan bill that had been achieved in the Senate, remember when Marco Rubio was for it and people worked hard and achieved it, if it had been allowed to come for a vote in the House, it would have passed. So I view the political landscape as increasingly favorable to us making this happen. I will also defend the president's executive actions. I, like you, was disappointed with the Supreme Court decision, but remember what it did. It sent the case back to be tried. It did not determine the case. So DACA and DAPA are still alive. Trump has said one of his first acts as president would be to eliminate every executive order that President Obama has signed, including those on immigration issues. So I will defend DACA and DAPA while I work vigorously for immigration reform. I have proposed an Office of Immigrant Affairs for the White House so that we are able to answer questions and provide information and help people. I will take a very hard look at the deportation priorities. My priority are violent criminals, people suspected of any kind of connection to terrorism, not hardworking mothers and fathers and people who go to work, help support this economy, pay $12 billion a year into Social Security. So we will take a hard look at that. We will close private detention centers, just like I want to end private prisons. We're going to close private detention centers. So I have a very active agenda, and we're going to be moving on it. And I believe, and you know, obviously it depends upon the outcome of this election, which is why it's so important to register more voters. My campaign's trying to register 3 million more voters, convince people to turn out, because we're going to start early and we're going to be tenacious and absolutely committed to getting a positive result. And I think the chances, once we win, will improve dramatically.
Madam Secretary, you spoke about the deportations. President Obama, some call the deporter-in-chief. You have alluded already to your priority will be criminals, but how do you walk back the deportations? There are people who are not criminals that are deported daily from this country. How do you walk back the deportations, comply with the law, and not inherit the title of deporter-in-chief? And at the same time, all these steps to help mobilize the Latino community to the polls, many who still believe that their vote was taken for granted in 2008, 2012, and then we have the emails from WikiLeaks that say that they are the loyalty brand of the party.
Well, look, I think that the president was committed to immigration reform. It's one of the reasons we got the bipartisan bill passed in the Senate. And what we didn't get, though, was enough political pressure to turn that bill into a voting issue.